Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly Books True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we're going to be looking at the comparison between what witness Nina saw at the Merry Piglets Tex-Mex restaurant and what Brian Entin has just found out from the restaurant, and see if there's any way that the story makes any sense. Do they have similarities or not? Let's have a look at that. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get all things Grizzly Books True Crime. And if you wouldn't mind, can you please hit the like button right away? Take care of that so we don't have to worry about that later. I'd really appreciate it. So we're going to look at this today. Also, I wanted to just show you this random Dutch sweet. It's called hopjes. This way, closer. Can you see it? It's not that clear, huh? But it's called hopjes, and it's actually a coffee-flavored sweet like this. So nice. Okay, I won't put it in my cheek right now, because otherwise I'm going to be talking with it in my cheek the whole time. So anyway, so let's look at, this is Nina Angelo, the lady that said she spotted Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito at the Merry Piglets Tex-Mex restaurant in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, on August 27th. So this is what the narrative was that we had to go on, that Brian was really angry and pacing back and forth. But then what Brian Entin has just said, he's retracing the steps of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, as well as Kylen and Crystal Turner. Her obituary also says Crystal Beck. So Kylen and Crystal, right? So let's have a look at the original witness narrative. Let's see.
Yeah, it was our first full day of vacation in Jackson Hole. We were at Merry Piglets, which is a Mexican restaurant in Jackson Hole, and it was Friday, August 27th. We got to the restaurant around 1 o'clock, and it was the altercation took place within the first hour of us being there, so it had to have been before 2 o'clock.
And in as much detail as you feel comfortable sharing, what did you notice about their interaction with each other?
It wasn't so much their interaction with each other. I didn't really take notice to them at all until they got up from their table, and they were, like I mentioned in my video, abruptly leaving the restaurant. It looked as though they were like almost getting kicked out, and it was never so much. It wasn't necessarily between them. It was more so Gabby abruptly leaving the restaurant crying, and Brian was just evidently really upset, pissed off. I would say Gabby was upset. He was angry, and he was just being very temperamental towards the restaurant staff.
So around 1 p.m. on August 27th, yes, I've now got it in my cheek. I couldn't help it. August 27th, 1 p.m., same day that Red, White, and Bethune saw the van parked and got the footage. That was around between 6 and 6:30 p.m. Okay, so let's continue.
And it's fine if you aren't sure. Do you know what the source of his anger was, or why she was upset?
No, and I don't want to say, because I don't want to fabricate anything. I've mentioned that I mean, in the moment, when it was happening, we didn't know who these people were, and we didn't know what was going to happen. But in that moment, I was thinking to myself, it seemed as though, I don't know, you think worst case scenario, like, what, was something wrong with their food? Were they displeased with the service? It still doesn't, that still doesn't seem like that much anger is worth something like that. So it may.
Right, and now I'm sure you've seen some of what Brian Entin said, right? It's going to make more sense when we look at that. So just store all this information, okay? Store it in your brain. Let's go.
Made me think that it seemed as if he was embarrassed and he was angry about being embarrassed. I got the feeling that they were asked to leave or that they were being kicked out the restaurant, because it was, like I said, very abrupt. They got up very abruptly and just like, you know, walked out the restaurant, and she was really upset. She was crying, and he immediately like went to the hostess stand and was just, yeah, he was just like going in on the hostess and the waitress, and then eventually the manager. He exited and entered the restaurant like on 4 different occasions within 5 minutes. He would walk out, walk back in, walk out, walk back in.
Which is interesting when we're going to hear Brian Entin's account. And then let me know what you've decided at the end of comparing these 2 videos, what you think happened.
One moment we thought they had walked out for good, or he had walked out for good, and he actually left for like 10 minutes and then came back just to like start the fight all over again.
It's really interesting. And this is just a confirmation question. You said that you and I'm not sure your partner were sitting next to them.
Yeah, we were sitting directly next to them. There's 2 tables right by the front door, which is also the exit and also where the hostess stand is. And yeah, we were within like not even a foot of each other.
Wow. And you know, you kind of said in detail like how he was acting toward the staff. Is there anything that you specifically overheard him say?
No, he was just being really aggressive. I couldn't hear any verbiage or actual words, but it just his body language, and you could obviously I could hear him, but I couldn't make out his words. He was, I would say, it was almost like he was screaming. He was.
Okay, she couldn't hear him or hear his words, but it's almost like he was screaming. So that's interesting. Especially now when we compare the 2 interviews, that's like interesting. But the point I want to make is that this witness really has nothing to lose, right? Why would she make up this story, even if people say it's for clout? Why would it be? From her personal account? Because she's got a business. Apparently she's a wedding photographer. She has 1 or 2 business accounts. And she posted the original witness account, her story, her testimony, on her personal account. So that's interesting. But the point is, when she said, you know, that I just have to listen to the information, take it in, think about it. So it's like he's up and down. She can't hear what he's saying, but it's almost like he's screaming. That's interesting. If he's screaming, you're going to hear what he's saying, especially in such a small restaurant, right? Okay, so let's just think about it and carry on.
Really angry. That's the best I can describe it. He was just very visibly angry. It was like a dog with a bone. He wouldn't drop it. Whatever it was, he was pissed off and he would not let it go. So much so that he would be asked to leave. I guess the restaurant staff was kind of not telling him what he wanted to hear, or maybe they were asking him to continuously leave, and he would leave and he would just re-enter within like a minute, and he just kept coming back and he wouldn't drop it. Whatever it was,
So he would come back in a minute, but earlier she said he went out and then came back after 10 minutes. I don't know, man. I don't know. We go out and in and out and in and out for 10 minutes and then come back in. Interesting.
Just getting angrier.
Got it. And these might be, you know, granular details, but if you remember.
Also, this is from September 24th. I should have said that first. This is from September 24th.
Remember at all, how did the 2 of them look? Did they look normal for all intents and purposes, or was anything off?
Like I said, I didn't really take notice to them, you know, in the midst of them eating, or I just took notice of them when they were leaving. And in that moment, Gabby reminded me a lot of how she seemed in that body cam video of the cop. She just seemed distraught. She seemed really upset. She was emotional. She was crying. She seemed kind of embarrassed. At one point, she walked back into the restaurant on one of his attempts to walk back in. I think she followed him and was trying to, get him to leave and like drop the situation. I think she was being like apologetic towards the restaurant staff for his behavior. Like she just kind of wanted to diffuse the situation. She was like, "I'm sorry, come on, let's just go." But she was visibly upset. She was crying. And that was really it. And he was just, you could feel his temper.
Okay. You could feel his temper, but she also said we were sitting next to them while they were eating. And now in a moment, the lady asks, were they eating? And then she doesn't really know.
He was angry. He was pissed off.
And in the midst of everything you're describing, at any point did they stay and have a meal? Did you see that they ate, or you didn't know?
I'm not positive. All I remember is that they were sitting at the table directly next to us. We were eating. We were in the middle of our meal. We weren't paying attention to anybody else around us. We only took notice of them when they got up and were leaving. I'm almost positive that they were eating, because I remember questioning, did they even pay? Did they even get the bill? Did they, it was.
And that's interesting to remember when we think about what Brian Entin is going to say when he interviewed the restaurant manager. I'm just saying that a minute before she was like, they were eating. And now it's like, I'm not positive if they were eating. Okay, but you said they were eating. I don't know. Interesting.
It was so fast. They just, our waitress was also their waitress. We shared a waitress, and she was visibly upset. So I know that she was a part of it. She has to have more information than I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry if any of these questions are redundant. I just want to make sure I cover all my bases here. At no point did you speak directly to them?
No.
And you're saying that it seemed that they were kicked out of the restaurant. When they finally left, did you see how they left?
No. I just saw them walk out the front door.
Gotcha. Are there any parts to this that, I haven't asked you, anything that you remember that came to you? I know you said that your partner kind of, woke you up and was like, I remember like why Brian's face is so familiar. Are there any other small details that maybe, have come to you over the past couple of days?
No, it just happened so fast. It was like in the span of like 10, 15 minutes.
10 or 15 minutes makes sense, except when she said that it was around 1 o'clock and they must have left before 2. So that was like kind of an hour. Now it's 10 to 15 minutes. And she said that Brian left and then came back in after 10 minutes. So maybe it just sounds like not really 10 to 15 minutes. I get it that they didn't know Gabby and Brian at all. It's like people at a restaurant, no one's taking notice of anyone until something happens. So the something happening could be them getting up and then leaving and then being like, whoa, where are they going? And then maybe the hostess being like, excuse me, hello. And then there's a fight that breaks out somewhere there. Something happens. We'll see now what Brian Entin said. So I get that Nina and her partner wouldn't have just like noticed they were wearing this and they were doing that and they did this and this and this because it wasn't such a big deal on the day. Like ordinarily, one wouldn't report about this, if you see people in a restaurant, it's because of what happened, of course, to Gabby Petito and the whole case that this has now come to light. But we have to bear in mind that Nina was just at a restaurant with her partner and just kind of saw something happening around her and like, oh, okay. And he's doing her best to report on that. But what I find interesting is the contrast in Brian's behavior compared to what Nina said and what the restaurant manager said, which we'll see in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you definitely don't see every day. It just was kind of startling. I remember feeling bad for her. And I remember looking across the table at Matt, getting his attention to kind of, tell him what was going on. And I just remember telling Matt, like vividly, I remember telling him, this guy is freaking me out. His demeanor, the way he was acting, how persistent he was, he freaked me out.
And this is my last question. What made you post the story once you guys put the pieces together on the fact that you had seen the two of them?
Just, I was kind of like, and that was very in the heat of the moment when I posted that Instagram story. It was within like seconds that we pieced it together. So I didn't really think about it before I posted it. It was mainly just for my friends. I just kind of, thought it was just a crazy story. And I did have hopes that maybe it would get out there and it could help, people piece together the story. I certainly wasn't expecting it to blow up to the degree that it did. But yeah, there really wasn't much thought before posting it. It was just like, oh my God, this happened. We were there. We saw this. We witnessed this. Like, I have to get the word out there. And that's kind of how it happened.
Okay. So what can we learn from this? Take a moment, think a little bit when it's a viral case already before you speak. Just think about it so that it's a very clear, direct message that we can all understand from the beginning, right? Now we're going to look at this one.
August 27th is an important day in the lives of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, maybe the most important day. It's quite possibly the day that Gabby died. It's apparently the day she was last seen alive in public, and it was memorable. According to witnesses and restaurant staff, Gabby and Brian had lunch at the Merry Piglets restaurant in Jackson, Wyoming. It happened in the afternoon, but it was certainly not a happy occasion. So, Brian Entin, this is important. You visited the Merry Piglets restaurant just in the last 2 days. And I want you to, if you can, characterize for me the conversation that you had with the manager of that restaurant.
So this was just last night, Ashley. This was right before they closed. I mean, we were on your show last night. We were driving like all the way from Moab to here and stopped in Salt Lake. So we were like trying to get here right before they closed. We got there right before they closed. The manager and the staff were all inside sort of together, like kind of talking right before closing. And I went inside and I spoke with the manager, immediately told her who I was. And she immediately said, like, what you've heard about what happened here is not what really happened. She didn't want to go on camera, but take a look.
She says everything that's been on the news about what happened here is made up. She says there was no loud voices, no one got angry, no one threw a fit here, but she says that Gabby and Brian did leave the restaurant without paying, and she says that the server followed them outside, that they paid the bill out here on the street, and that Brian was very calm, but then that they came back into the restaurant together, and that Gabby said that she wanted her money back, and the restaurant said that we're not going to give you your money back, and that then Gabby and Brian left.
So that's interesting, right? So the thing is that Nina had seen the Moab body cam footage, and my personal opinion is that it may have influenced how she visualizes what happened at the restaurant, right? Because like, oh my word, yeah, that's what we saw. That makes sense. So, there is a bit of a blend, a crossover in these stories in that they left the restaurant abruptly because they were possibly, allegedly, avoiding paying their bill. I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. So they leave the restaurant. They're like, okay, let's go. And then there's a whole like, whoa. Little bit of a scene. Little bit of defenses. Walk out. And then pay outside. The server, follow them outside. Pay outside for their bill. And then 10 minutes later, according to Nina, they come back in. Nina says Brian came back in. But they came back in. And Gabby asked for their money back. Which is interesting. But the restaurant says Brian was calm the whole time. So the way that I think about it is, of course, the restaurant has a brand to protect, their business to protect. So they might be downplaying the situation to be like, no, nothing happened here. It wasn't like that. But obviously, now saying this actually just draws more attention to the brand. And he's like, wait, what? So it's actually just going to bring more questions. So I don't know what to think. But it's a bit odd. The difference in description in how Brian was behaving. And that Gabby was saying, we want our money back. Obviously, we can speculate that they did not enjoy their meal. Maybe they were vegan. I've been vegan. I'm vegetarian now. And I can tell you, when you're a radical vegan and you go to a restaurant and you ask for something, I want the I don't know what example to make. The spaghetti in the arrabbiata tomato sauce, but no feta. Okay, I don't want cheese on there. No animal products. and then they put the cheese on there. Because of that radical mentality, which Brian was part of, because he's like, I don't drink out of plastic bottles. No, no, no. Oh, I know all about that radical mentality. Because of that, I feel like if there was any, this is speculation, personal opinion only. If there was any sign, even though they ate salmon on their one video, interesting. But if there was any dairy or something they really didn't want to eat, if they were this real purist mentality, which Brian very much had, based on everything we've analyzed, right? If it's that radical purist mentality, and maybe obviously Gabby was part of it too. She worked at a juice bar. They were very much a part of this type of van life and vegan lifestyle. So then if there was, let's say, feta cheese on something, they would say, we're not going to pay for this, because it's like in their minds, it would be unethical to serve them that. It would be offensive and an insult, right? Not all vegans are like this, but there are many that are. You can get very, very deep into that, and I understand all those issues. But I think the leaving and the not wanting to pay the bill is either that they were in deep, deep financial trouble, which could explain him going home to clear out the storage unit to try to get more money for them and then return. That could be a desperate plea, a desperate attempt to quickly grab some cash, like make money, right? Obviously, the parents could have just transferred things. However, now we know that the parents, I think the parents have been portrayed as much more wealthy than what they are. What do you think? You know, because they went to buy the camper, right? Remember Brian Entin said they went to buy the camper, and then they gave $1,000 cash and a $6,000 check, and the check bounced. And then several weeks later, or a few weeks later, or however they said it, they actually had to go and pay that money, which could be why the mom was carrying the tote with the cash. There was a little bit of a cash flow problem, and I think there could have been financial strain, of course, with Brian and Gabby. And if you're living in a confined space with someone and there's financial strain, oh damn, can fights break out? Oh man, that is a stressful situation. So maybe they were like, let's treat ourselves, go to this restaurant, have a nice time, regroup, right? Especially because he'd been away from the 17th to the 23rd. This was on the 27th. They were carrying on their journey. Let's just regroup, have a nice time, have a meal, and then the meal ends up being a complete disappointment to them or insulting to them or something like that. And they're like, you know what? No, we're not going to pay for this. And then they get up and leave. The waitress follows them out, says you have to pay for it. They come back in. Gabby says we want our money back. Obviously would explain why. If Brian got angry or not, I'm sure he actually would have. I think the restaurant might be downplaying that, but I'm sure he would have been like, come on, man, like maybe just flustered, right? But yeah, that did not work out, and apparently they paid, and then they left. But I don't know what happened after that, because some big, big fight must have broken out after that. Something happened after that. For the van to be parked like that on the 27th, same day. For Brian to be hitchhiking by the 29th. Say that he's camped for a couple of days along the Snake River. Left his fiancée back at camp because she's working on their social media. Something happened after that.
Yeah, so I had Luis, my photographer, shoot that because I wanted to like get it out right away because I had just heard her explain all of this. But it was interesting because it was so different than the other witness account. And I told the manager that, and she's like, yeah, it's not true. That's not what happened. She goes, it was all a very somewhat calm situation in her words.
You know, it's so interesting, and this is where I'm so glad that, you know, early in my professional career, I was a waitress and a bartender and a bouncer, 6 years of it. So I know intimately the functioning of a restaurant, and I also know that oftentimes the manager's not there for everything. So I am quite, and I also love covering trials where many witnesses bring their story to the stand and give a fulsome picture of what happened. And one witness's account isn't always the same, and sometimes they're contiguous. So I'm very curious as to whether that Instagrammer, Nina Seeley, saw something that the manager didn't see. Because if the manager only thinks that was a walkout on a check, there may very well have been something quite aggressive happening next to Nina's table. And she seems very certain of what she witnessed. So I'm not prepared to sort of discount the Instagrammer.
That's true as well. This is what the manager told Brian Entin. But the manager might have not have seen everything, of course. You know who needs to be interviewed? The waitress, the hostess. I'm sure Brian Entin tried, right? But the hostess really needs to be interviewed.
I think that there could be many different versions of what it looked like to them, but certainly the same version that comes from everybody is that Gabby was upset, that's for sure. Okay, just quickly, I want to take you back for a minute to the Salt Lake City hotel. I know I'm circling back, but I think it's an important moment because there is video of Gabby leaving that hotel, and it's important to know all the places where she was seen on video. But characterize for me why that's important.
It's important because that is where Brian left Gabby when he returned home to Florida to apparently clean out this storage unit. And so that was another one of the stops that we made, hoping to get some information because, you know, that's kind of one of the mysteries. What was Gabby doing during that time? What was happening? And again, it was just sort of immediate shutdown. The manager and the clerk knew why we were there, said that they couldn't talk. There was a restaurant attached that we sort of thought, well, perhaps Gabby ate there because she was at this hotel alone for so long. So we also went to the restaurant, and I think the manager called ahead and kind of warned them that we were coming. And so they also just immediately shut us down.
Why?
So we didn't really gain any insight into, we know Gabby was there, but we don't know much more than that still.
Thank you for watching. Click the reds.
Isn't Ashley Banfield amazing? Whoa, that was just, wow. Let me just move this quickly. And sure got an image to put in the background. There we go. So, I agree with Ashley Banfield that obviously there can be many stories. I wish there were more witness accounts so we could put all the pieces together and really make a comprehensive picture in our own minds. But that is a good point, of course, that the manager may have seen, it was nothing really big. No one was angry or shouting. It's all good, you know, but the hostess might have seen something else. And of course, as I said before, Nina wouldn't really have a reason to make this up. Why would she do that? I know what some of you are going to say, but I'm just trying to think of the facts here. And the way that we saw Brian in the body cam footage, you know, I mean, he was very calm in a pressured situation. He wasn't angry. He was very calm, but he was angry and trying to push Gabby away and all that and slapping the girl, according to that 911 caller, outside the Moonflower Co-op. So he can get angry in public. It's not like this account of the manager says, oh no, he never gets angry in public. He really can get angry in public. And Cassie as well, Brian's sister, said, oh, he came home, yeah, he did. That's what he always does when and we still don't know what the end of that sentence is, but maybe when he needs some space, maybe when he gets really angry, you know? And of course, we know that friends came forward saying all sorts of things about him, that he was a weird chameleon type at school, like a weirdo, but strange, I don't know. And that he had anger issues. The peers that were with him in school, in high school, said, yeah, these two fought a lot. So it wasn't something new. If the restaurant said, yeah, there was a bit of an argument, they caused a bit of a scene, that would make more sense because you're like, okay, well, that's pretty much what everyone has said, right? It's a bit odd to be like, nothing at all. Especially given that, how many days before that? 13 days before, there was that massive fight on the body cam footage. So things just escalated. And of course, we know shortly after that, Gabby Petito died. So it can't be that he's so calm on the day. It just can't be. Can it? We always leave the door open for a 1% possibility of any other outcome. But if he was so angry outside the Moonflower Co-op on the 12th, went home from the 17th to the 23rd, we have no idea what Gabby was doing between the 17th and the 23rd, besides spending some time at that Fairfield Inn and Suites at Salt Lake City. So, okay, angry, went home, came back, and then supposed fight at the restaurant, according to witnesses. Manager says, nah, there was no fight, but there must have been a little bit of a fight because they left the restaurant without wanting to pay. So there definitely would have been some tension, and the hostess being like, hey, like, hello, you didn't pay your bill. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would lean towards taking a little bit more from the witness who was sitting at the table right next to them than the restaurant manager at this point. Yes. But it's just interesting that they said that Gabby came back in and asked for the money back. I think Gabby and Brian had some financial issues. And Brian did say that, which is interesting. But he did say that when the cops asked, can you stay in a hotel? And he said, no, not in our financial situation right now. No. I mean, shortly after that, then he went home. Possibly then scrambling for money somehow. Selling who knows what from the storage unit, or what was he doing? Very interesting. My word. My mind is just like going. I'm like, what if he sold their phones? Damn. My word. I'm not going to go there now. My mind is just like, wait, what if he came back and sold their phones? And that's why they can't find the phones. Because the FBI and the police have not found their phones yet. It's the same in the case I just covered, Jelani Day. His phone has not been found yet. It's not uncommon. Whoa. Sold their phones, maybe, for cash. Huh? For marijuana. Very interesting. Damn. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Please remember to hit the like button. And if you are not yet subscribed, obviously if you like the video, okay? If you are not yet subscribed, please remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss anything that I do. The Grizzly Books True Crime episodes come out here and there. It's all unexpected. It's all surprise. Today I have 10 videos for you, and surprise, today I have none, you know? Keeping it a surprise here and there. It's just the way I roll, you know? Some days I'm like super motivated to make like 10 videos, and other days I'm like, ooh, I need a timeout. I need to sleep. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you stay safe. Keep it grizzly. Keep it classy. Whenever you are watching this, happy Halloween to you, wherever you are in the world. We don't really celebrate it here in the Netherlands, and also we never did in South Africa either. So I like it. I've just never had the real Halloween experience. So I will see you very soon for another episode. Have a great day.